Greetings and welcome to our daily walk through the scripture for December the 12th. Your readings today find you in Obadiah chapter 1, Revelation 4, Psalm 132, and Proverbs chapter 29, verses 24 and 25. Hey, we are less than 20 days away from finishing out our 1 year in the Bible. So you've been doing a great job. Keep it up. Keep sticking with it. We have a few more conversations, and honestly, these are going to kind of come fast and furious because you've got the Old Testament prophets that are shorter books, these minor prophet books, the shorter books. So they're going to come quite a bit. Like today we got Obadiah, tomorrow we hit Jonah. It's going to go very quickly. Plus, I know you're going to want to have some conversation on Revelation. Hopefully we won't disappoint too much on that, but we're not going to necessarily dive into the weeds too much on Revelation, and I'll explain more about that in a minute. But let's introduce Obadiah. So Obadiah is a prophet who had a specific message for the people of Edom. Now, who exactly are the Edomites? Well, the Edomites actually can trace themselves all the way back to a pair of brothers, a guy by the name of Jacob and Esau. Yes, those guys. Jacob and Esau, twin brothers, were at odds. Remember, Esau was technically the oldest, but he gave up everything. He gave up his birthright. He gave up all he had, really for just really silly things like bowls of soup and those kind of things. And there was some deceit involved as well on Jacob and his mother's part. But what that does is that kind of sets the tone for the downstream relationship between the people of Israel and the people of Edom. They never have a good relationship, ever. Unfortunately, the Edomites refused to acknowledge God's having placed the Israelites in particular positions, namely as his people, as the ones that represent Yahweh. And so there was always an animosity between the two, and they were in close proximity. People believe that Edom was around just on the southern part of the Dead Sea, so a little to the south and to the east of Israel. There's a famous place there now called Petra. If you ever saw Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade, that mysterious temple they go into the in the valley, that's Petra. And so there's a lot of cool things that you'll see in history, but they believe that Petra was near the capital of the Edomites. So what you see here in Obadiah, though, is something that we all need to keep in mind, especially when we look around and we go, there's so many things wrong with this world. When is justice coming? Justice was a big theme all throughout the Old Testament. The people of Israel cried for justice all the time. Unfortunately, they didn't always recognize when they were the ones that were doing the bad stuff. In this case, Edom was doing things against Israel, and so God was saying justice is going to come. And we know now in history that the Edomites, they don't exist. The country's gone. So God's proclamation of this, it happens. It does eventually happen. It always happens in God's timing, and this is the part that I want you to focus on, is that judgment will come for all of us. And the question is, though, do we have judgment covered in the grace of Jesus Christ, or do we have judgment covered under, the wrath of God? That's what Jesus came to do, was to be our propitiation, to take away, to be the replacement of, the satisfier of the wrath of God, the judgment of God against us for our own decisions and the consequences of our decisions. So when we read in letters like Obadiah and his prophecies, we need to understand that they don't escape. And as a matter of fact, that's going to be a theme in Jonah's conversation starting tomorrow. We don't get to escape God's judgment. All we can do is depend on God's grace. But that means that we also have an obligation to extend that grace to other people. Something that we only have the right to do. God is the one that has the right to do judgment. We don't have that right. We only have the right to extend grace to others. Okay, so on Revelation 4, this is the scene. We've had the letters to the seven churches, and now we're going to start getting into some things that are going to be difficult. Some of the things are going to make perfect sense. Other parts of it are going to be like, I got nothing. I'm going to try to come at it from a neutral standpoint, but we'll see how we do. I have my own thoughts and opinions on it, and you may or may not agree with those. That's okay. That's the beauty of the scripture. We can be in disagreement about minor things and always be in agreement on major things. That's that whole grace thing we were talking about. Okay, so there's introduction. We'll talk more tomorrow, and we'll see another introduction to Jonah.